I'm Mahala, and you are watching 110 Football.
You're not Connor.
Thanks for noticing.
You know what? The rule is, though, that if you're the new guy on the cold open, you have to do all the work.
I feel like that's not true, but since it means I get to talk more, then joke's on you, Rosa. We got a great show coming up. We'll touch on all the headlines from LAFC's win against both Miami and the weather, to Steve pulling all the right strings with his subs. Oh, and I'll be choosing the player ratings this week.
You can feel the chat blowing up already. This is LAFC 360. And speaking of that chat, welcome everyone into a new episode of LAFC 360. We're back after the first road trip of the year. We, the four of us, did not travel to Miami, but if you guys at home did, shame on you for not inviting us. But it's all good. We're still here to put on a great show for you. Here's the group that's joining me this week. JR, the scarf to my right.
Hey,
Philly, just beyond him.
happy Monday.
That means we've got both defenders of the bank in the show today. Then, of course, the voice of LAFC, Max Bretos.
Oh, it's nice. If you were in Miami, it's very easy to pick up a packet of pastelitos, a box, and bring it to me with a selection of the finest Cuban fare. I hope you did that.
You're from there. How come you didn't go?
Too much travel.
How does Cafecito travel?
Not good.
Not good.
You can make a great cafecito at home. You can get the coffee here. I can show you. You just blend up the sugar, boom.
I feel like this is a tutorial that we will have to do for
It's
one
very
Super
easy.
Bowl.
We should do it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it on the show.
For sure. All right, before we get into it, don't forget to click on that subscribe button, like this video, and click on the bell icon so you'll get notified anytime we go live or any new videos. All right, like we do every week, it's time to check out the big storylines that are circulating around social media after Saturday's match. Let's talk about what's hashtag trending. You like that?
Connor will be happy.
Like whip around.
You did that. That was good.
Hashtag trending.
Sounds so millennial.
I've got the topics here, boys.
Come
let's
back
start
later.
with the big one from the weekend and one that Steve Cherundolo did mention. Winning ugly. He was not happy with anything but the 3 points and scoring a couple of goals in that performance. I agree with him. There wasn't much to love from there other than 3 points, but am I being nitpicky?
There's a clean sheet you gotta like, and despite the fact that Mother Nature might have had some help in this game, do you really want to lose beautifully, though? Winning ugly, it's 3 points. 3 points is 3 points. And on the road, that's important.
I don't know. How would Johan Cruyff feel? He's all about the
Yeah, because to Philly's point, to say, hey, we played really well, we should have got something, that kind of leaves you empty. LAC doesn't want to play like this all the time. This is how the game played out. They took what they got, and it's effective. Do you want to have results like this all throughout the season? Probably not, because it doesn't match up with the what LAFC wants to be like, how they want to play, how they want to represent the city, and that will come around. But you take these with a grin from ear to ear. Maybe not from ear to ear, but a slight grin with a little upward kick.
Look, we saw how razor thin the margins were last year in terms of making the playoffs and not making the playoffs. You get to take 3 points from a game like this, road, home, it doesn't matter. If you can win ugly, win as often as you can by winning ugly, because I think as we were talking about pre-show, in the playoffs, that's when those kind of wins are really going to help you out the most as well.
Yeah, you're not going to be best in the West and best in MLS if you lose beautifully. Winning ugly is going to get you on top of those MLS charts.
Well, speaking of the difference between 2021 and 2022, does the 2021 team even come close to pulling something like this off? I can't even think of a really ugly victory where we just said, oh, thank God that's over, but we got it done. I mean, this is a different team.
Certainly not on the road.
Yeah.
Certainly not on the road with all the challenges, as we said, with a very early kickoff and going from one coast to the other. So there was a lot put in their path for you to take out the game and say, hey, 2-0 victory at the end is pretty good. I just like the way that they were able to react, and they said, we're not going to do something silly, and then Miami ended up doing that on 2 occasions to end the first half.
I mean, we got people in the chat, GTG Law, talking about clear goal scoring opportunities, which they did create.
Yep.
Didn't finish all of them, but we still got 2 goals, and then obviously not giving up a lot. I mean, like you said, you know when winning ugly is fine? When you have a cup at the end of the year. Playoffs, if you can kind of manipulate your team and say, guys, from time to time, we're going to have to win this way, and that's when we have to turn it on, I mean, that's going to be a big thing in the playoffs, right?
Yeah, and I think right now, if you look at a team like Miami, they're looking for moral victories, trying to build around an aging.
And we're not about handing out moral victories.
Look,
That's
they're
right.
in worse shape. They said we needed moral victories, and they're even worse shape than they were after they lost to Austin. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're not getting anything moving forward. Higuain, look, he can't carry that load by himself right now. It's clear. So you take a victory like this, you go home, first you dry off, then you go home and you get 3 points.
J. David Wallace, to my point, says that Miami team should have had more to prove, and the fact that you didn't see it, that's a testament to LAFC.
Well, the fact that the management and the front office keep saying that they're expecting more from I was going to say Higuain. We were joking about how Bruce Silverman kept referring to him as Higuain. Higuain, they're obviously expecting a lot out of him, and he's been given the bulk of the responsibility for carrying this Miami team, and he couldn't turn. He didn't do anything. He couldn't turn the team around. And coming off of a 5-1 win, a 5-1 loss against Austin, I mean, they didn't look very good, and obviously, you know, the chances and the luck wasn't on their side either.
Miami has some serious problems. Tomorrow, I'm headed to the LAFC Performance Center, and I'll have a serious problem if I don't bring donuts for Steve Cherundolo.
Remember his favorites?
Head of security, Paul. Yeah, remember his favorites from episode 2 of In Touch with Steve Cherundolo. I glazed over it.
Wait,
But the
do you actually go buy the donuts?
You know what? I will go buy donuts. I will. Expect donuts tomorrow, Max.
Get something cream or custard filled, because I'll have that one. Yes.
Okay, I will. I promise. But he stepped on my pun.
He did.
I kind of glazed over
You
it.
glazed over
I
it.
saw it.
I acknowledged it.
But you know what? The team got a shutout. But I'll say this. One of the 4 players has started in 3 matches, Mamadou Fall. Other than that, new pieces all in that back line. Yeah. Surprised.
Defensive Player of the Year, Mamadou Fall. I think that's where this is going.
A little early.
A little early? Okay.
Hey, but if it happens,
very early.
we'd love to see it.
But I think it speaks to the depth that we do have on this roster, being able to plug and play the different players that we do, and in a couple different positions that we've already seen so far this season, too. I think it's really important that the depth is able to serve us throughout the year. We saw what happened when Eddie Segura went down last year. Things can change like that, and we're just hoping that doesn't happen.
And just to piggyback off of what Scarf just said, I mean, last season, if we would have had any defender out, it would have been an awful situation. Coming in, we had Franco Escobar and Chiqui Palacios on the questionable list. If this was last season, we would have been terrified. We would have been chewing our nails and our cuticles. But not even worrying about that right now, because we see Daniil Henry step up, the big man that he is. Ryan Hollingshead, which I feel, it's a starting position he's going to earn. It's really good and very comforting to know that we have such outstanding talent within that back line, despite not even still having Eddie Segura.
And people are asking about Jesus Davim-Rio. Just a little knock, nothing big. But Daniil Henry comes in, and we said quietly had a really good game. I know you pointed out there was one, it was late in the second half. There was a sliding block that he made. That was pretty big. But having a quiet game is pretty good for Daniil Henry, right?
Yeah, but he looked really geared up for this. We've heard he's hit the ground running when he's come to Los Angeles. The fact that you can plug these other guys. You have still Sebastian Ibeagha. This defense was, they weren't in the same mindset because they were chasing the season a lot. And there was some moments where they got a little adventurous and they paid the price. They're not doing that this time. They're playing very smart. We saw it in the previous 2 games with Jesus David Murillo, who was pretty watertight and making sure nothing came into those inner channels. Same thing is happening. This is definitely an upgrade. And to Philly's point, the fact that they can absorb a couple injuries, and they can even absorb more than a couple injuries. They wanted to be depth. They wanted to be deep defensively. It's paying off. This team is not only not giving up goals, they're not giving up really good chances.
Well, we're talking a lot about personnel, but let's talk a little bit about approach, because the approach does seem to be different. I'm seeing a team that is, again, the word pragmatic. Don't fiddle around with it in the back. Don't just have your fullbacks flying up to provide more in the attack. Even though we've all sat here and said, like, we'd like to see some more goals, Steve has got them playing in the right ways. Have you guys noticed a different approach from this defensive unit?
I definitely think that, and it'll lead to something we're going to talk about just right after this, I think that Steve has them playing a little bit more conservative on the back line. They'd rather play from the back instead of attacking from the back, which I think is a little bit of a difference there. When you had players like Moon-hwan and Chiqui Palacios last season really pushing up from the wings, you see that a little bit less this season, although Moon did get some good run. He wasn't that member of the attacking third like he was so much last year. I mean, he really is a great weapon in the attacking third, but he's just not being asked to do that in this system this year.
I think they're definitely a lot tighter out wide to those fullbacks, which were given up. They were meant to go forward a lot last season. Even some more we saw wing backs. So that back line was always a fluid situation. You feel like it's pretty lock, stock, and 2 smoking barrels with that team, regardless of who plays there. And the fullbacks are more experienced and doing their part defensively. You got to give the midfield credit too. I remember I've seen a couple times where Ilie dropped a little back when he saw some space. Just a smart team that's able to adjust with so many different players. I feel very confident this will be a situation that goes on through the season. LAFC good defensively.
We're talking a lot about depth, and it looks like depth might be tested even more so. It's just a rumor at this point, but Jason Lee is reporting on Twitter. He's got that blue check mark, so it gives a little bit more weight to it.
Right.
That Moon-hwan may be subject to a bid from Chungbuk, who is the reigning champion in the K-League, but not doing so hot right now. So Moon-hwan possibly on his way out. What do we make of this rumor?
I mean, I kind of touched on it before. The system change has really affected him a little bit. Plus, getting Franco Escobar, getting Ryan Hollingshead may have pushed him, I don't know, down, but maybe to the side on the depth chart a little bit.
It's definitely competition one way or the other.
Absolutely. And this is a guy who has World Cup aspirations, right? For South Korea, he's got to get some run if he wants to get back into the starting 11 for South Korea.
It's all about that World Cup, right, Max?
Hyundai.
Say it.
Hyundai, that's how you say it.
Okay.
A lot of great industry out of Korea, by the way. So there's a lot of money there, certainly for the pro league.
I happen to drive a Hyundai.
Yes, it's a fine car. I've seen the commercials with Jason Bateman. Is that a Hyundai? Where the new electric one?
Yep.
Very, very smart looking. The Hyundai Ioniq.
Max, they don't sponsor this show. So
Okay.
let's talk about the 2022 World Cup. That's front of mind.
That's
for
what
a lot
it
of
is.
players.
This is what this is was about. We heard from Daniil Henry about finding a club that can help him on that track to not only make a World Cup roster, but to play when Qatar rolls around. I want Moon-hwan here. I think if it's up to him, maybe he says, okay, I like being here, and maybe I'll get the minutes here. We just don't know. Right now, that's not the case. He did obviously start this past weekend, but you've got to put yourself in a position where you're gonna make that, because he did start for South Korea in World Cup qualifiers.
Yep.
And a lot of the South Korean players play domestically, so the eyes of the selectors are on that K-League. So that will certainly help.
And with a healthy Franco Escobar and a healthy Cheeky Palacios, where does Moon-hwan really fit into that back line? Clearly, he's a versatile player who can play in multiple positions. But to all of your points, World Cup year, he's going to get buried in the bench, and he's not going to have the opportunity to showcase his talents. And if there's anything that any player really is going to want, is the ability to represent their country in a World Cup. I don't think he's going to have that opportunity being on LAFC. But why don't we also talk about the potential rumor benefit? Like, we're going to get 7 figures if the rumor is true. That's Walker Zimmerman money for a defender. That's pretty darn good.
It's a lot more game, but I think it's the World Cup. It really all comes down to that. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And look, I think a lot of people would say, well, compete for your spot, but you can just boost your appearances a little bit, find a place where you know for sure day in and day out you're playing just for the chance to get to World Cup. I mean, Steve Cherundolo knows about this. He went in 2002, took over for an injury, was not even on that original list, and then he got injured. Now, luckily, he got to play in 2006, in 2010, which was a great run, but that could have been it for him also.
A lot of folks here are not signing off on that. They want Moon-hwan to stay here. A lot of people want. He's just he's a great player all the way. He rescued LAFC a couple times. It just hasn't fit in. But that said, he did make it into the squad this weekend, so maybe there's more of that. But look at it. I'm looking down the comments. Everyone wants
look,
Moon
he's a fan favorite. You can't.
And our buddy Soccer USA says Vela will not approve the Moon move. But they've had some pretty good chemistry when Moon was pushed forward, and it was Vela and Moon kind of playing off each other on that right side. But I think the move's going to happen.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about that weather again. What was going on there in Miami? I mean, we had everything on.
In the words of Will Smith, welcome to Miami.
Yeah.
Bienvenidos a Miami.
We had wind, we had rain, we had streamers on the field, we had trash on the field.
But I mean, if there's anybody that would know about that Miami weather is our very own Max Bretos. I mean, if you don't like the weather in Miami, you wait a minute. I mean, we saw that there was some sun, there was overcast, there was rain. The funny thing is, again, seeing the utility bills and the streamers floating through the air.
Can we confirm they were utility bills?
I mean, that's just my own thing. One thing we can't confirm is Carlos Vela got a streamer around the neck at one point.
Not good.
No, not good at all.
Those are painful. No.
But we could also argue that Mother Nature surely had her, she benefited us. Yeah. We'll talk about that momentarily, but it was awesome seeing the 32, 52 members and all the away day support cheering and going nuts in the rain. I mean, LA fans haven't seen that since that match against the Houston Dynamo a couple of years ago. The Miami fans know this. They're hiding underneath the roofs, but I mean, if I was out there, I'm sure you guys would agree with me, we'd all be out there celebrating in the rain.
It is fun.
I'd probably take some cover at some point. All due respect. I mean, it takes a while to get my hair to look the way it does, so I got to.
When we were in Colorado for the final game of the season, I went and got to jump into the traveling section for just a little bit. It wasn't bad weather, but the game wasn't going so well. But it was so much more fun to be there with people, even though the game wasn't going very well. So when it's raining, I think you just live it. You just love it. Get glory. It reminds me of that the Houston game.
Oh, yeah.
Favorite calls of all time.
Well, we remember that in 2018 we had the 2 Houston games that were delayed, one in
Right.
Houston and one
Something
in LA.
about Houston.
So I don't think it was ever in risk. If there's lightning, you'll postpone it, but you don't stop the game because of wind or rain. Isn't that the old expression from golf, nay wind, nay rain? So certainly soccer, it applies. But this is an issue of the stadium too, because it's a temporary home. They want to get a stadium here, and unlike Bank of California Stadium or some others, there's nothing blocking the weather. There's no walls, there's no barriers, there's no roof. It comes right through.
And real quick, it also took away our aerial threats in that game. I mean, we've seen what Mamadou Fall can be in the air. Daniel Henry is a huge guy too.
We've
Why
been
not?
pretty good on set pieces.
But it took away our ability to cross. It took away any of the aerial threats, and that was such a big part of what we tried to do against Portland. So it really did kind of change the makeup of how LAFC was going to try to score moving forward.
Well, one guy that the weather didn't affect was Mahala Opoku. He opened up the scoring, and what a finish it was. Mahala is a guy that he drives me a bit nuts sometimes, but man, can he finish. When he gets in that final third, I mean, no wind was going to keep him out of the upper corner. What do we make of Mahala's performance in a surprise start?
I think he does the most with the limited amount of opportunities that he gets. What we're seeing is that he's more of a quality finisher, I think, right now than maybe as quality on the ball. You want him to be, I think you had mentioned it before, you want him to be receiving the pass, maybe not giving that last pass in the attacking
not
third.
passing.
But shooter's got to shoot,
We've learned
right?
that.
He's not passing.
He's making the most of those opportunities. If you're going to be out there, shoot. You can't score if you don't shoot.
100%. Take that shot. Him and I do that all the time during the tailgates. It's fantastic.
Oof.
But the fact that he's 20 years old and has that amount of intestinal fortitude, no fear to go out there. And we have to also thank, we haven't hit our allotment, our Breck Shea. I mean, Carlos Vela tried to find Opoku. Technically, it bounced off of Breck Shea. But the fact that he made that run and scored a Carlos Vela-esque goal, perhaps assisted by Mother Nature, it was a thing of beauty. He's played 12 games since donning LAFC's roster. 11 with LAFC, 1 with the Las Vegas Lights. And he's come up a couple of times. It's exciting to see this young man progress, considering how his story has come through. I love seeing Opoku succeed.
I remember we asked Maxime Crepeau on our Max and Vince IG Live, like, who surprised you a little bit? And he pointed out Mahala. He's like, he's got quite a shot on him. So obviously, Max gets to see a lot of those, but what do you think of that?
The shot is a bit of a bonus because he's there to separate the lines. He's there to get vertical. He's there for his pace. And coming back from injury, you wonder if that pace was going to return. It clearly has, so that's a good sign. But once you get behind a defensive line, I'm sure you're being coached to say, finish. You're there. You have a shot on goal. You can look for something inside, but Mahala's probably being told, go for it, because you're the guy who's best equipped to get behind that back line because of your speed. So he's taken advantage of it. And I think with the minutes he's played, you've got to see an incredible output, even though, he's still going to work on some things. He's a young player, but seizing an opportunity, that's, you love to see it.
Well, I think one thing we got to touch on quickly, because he is 20 years old, this is yet another player that LAFC have identified and now have developed. I mean, the finish against Cruz Azul, you could say, maybe a bit lucky, but now you see this. This guy's a real finisher. So our track record of finding players and developing them up, especially for an MLS team.
Yep.
I mean,
let's go through the list of guys. I mean, I think Mamadou Fall's another one because we haven't had the academy churning, but it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Based on the eyeballs they have at LAFC and the scouting, they are going to get this academy going here. But in the meantime, they're finding stuff elsewhere, finding players elsewhere. Even Bryce Stuku could be a big star in this league. I truly believe that. They have identified that, and you got to give them all the credit in the world.
Maybe
Who else?
Danny Musovski.
Danny
Could be another one of those guys.
Mark Anthony Kaye.
Yep.
USL player, yeah.
I mean, they keep finding kind of these little gems, and I think in a salary cap league, that's worth its weight in gold.
All those guys, like if they don't fit here at LAFC, every team in MLS would desire any one of those guys we just mentioned.
And Max, to something that you said earlier, we got GTG Law in the chat. Opoku's shot almost reminded him of Vela's banger against Toronto. You said that was a very Vela-esque shot.
Left foot from post to post.
Yep.
He, at first look when you see it, you almost thought it was Vela until you noticed Vela put him through there. But that was really impressive finishing. Top class.
It was a good-looking goal hitting the back of that pink net.
Well, and keep in mind, this is before Marco Garces has really gotten to work, who's scouted for both Manchester United and took that Pachuca system to be the best in Liga MX. Like, it could keep growing in these ways. And like Max said, the academy still isn't quite there, but they're close. They're simmering. As you said, percolating. Your vocabulary is second to none.
Oh,
like a cafecito likes to percolate.
Second to none. All right, let's go to the guy that scored the second goal. We call him Izzy. The league knows him as Ishmael Tajouri-Shradi. Yep. We had to wait on him a little bit. He had a little bit of an injury, but comes in, debut goal. I think somebody had a stat where he's now the 4th LAFC player to score in his debut, and I think you can name one of the other ones pretty easily. Diego Rossi.
Yep.
Right?
I think Danny Musovski might have been on that list.
Okay.
And then Corey Baird. So now
I had forgotten Corey Baird scored for us.
Corey Baird
On his
scored
debut.
in that debut.
That's good
game last
trivia.
season.
What about Christian Ramirez? That seems like a very Christian Ramirez stat.
Yeah, I feel like he
wanna
would
go
have did
back
that
and
against
see.
Real Salt Lake.
I don't know.
I think he got subbed in to a game.
Oh, that's
before.
true.
Yes, not
For
first start,
Carlos.
but his debut.
For
You guys are geeking out right
Yeah,
hard.
we're
on
geeking
this,
out
yeah.
right now.
Sorry.
Let's get back to Izzy. So, was he shooting?
No. No.
He was putting it where it needed to be put.
Yeah.
Especially under the conditions. None of this high ball, because you mentioned the aerial threat. Drive that thing in. There was a perfect just tunnel, and Miami didn't know what to do with it. It came in quick, and I would think that he said in the back of his mind as soon as he hit it, because this has a chance to maybe get that far post.
I mean,
Regardless if that was his intention.
I mean, it literally kind of hung up there, and everything that was going on in the box seemed to be everyone was focused on their dance partner and what was going on, and no one was focused on the ball until it was literally in the back of the net.
Yeah, we were deceived. Like when he came running out, I thought Pancho Ginella was responsible for that goal, and we made the comment on the away days episode where I thought everybody needs a Pancho in the rain, thinking it was him. But to have Ishmael Tajouri-Shradi, look, we've seen him score. But we've seen him score against us last season when NYCFC was in town. So we know the guy can score in 26 games in his career. in 84 games within his career. He's found the back of the net 26 times. If we're doing math, like my math teacher right here, that's 30% of the time this guy scores.
Can I let the cat out of the bag really quick? The NYCFC game was like a rare game we both missed. And I went to Solvang, and I'm walking through Solvang. No one's going to see me. I turn a corner. Who do I see? These two. Hello. I thought I was escaping town. That just reminded me of that game because I was driving up, and I ended up missing it.
That's
a very rare miss for all of us. Sorry, guys. We let you down.
No, but I mean, my headline for that, ITS given Inter Miami IBS. Great to see the guy get on the score. And we were talking about how we just want this game to end. We just want it over. We don't know what other kind of bad elements are going to happen because of Mother Nature. But him giving us that insurance goal certainly helped things out because as we saw the game progress, Lassiter had a really good opportunity that went just above. He had another opportunity that Mamadou Fall broke up. So if we're sitting on a 1-0 game and those guys score, we're looking at a completely different story.
I never felt that was at risk, though. I mean, to your point, it's still 1-0, but you always felt LAFC had this and they were going to score again, which is a testament to how they played this season. Then again, because we're always had our guard up. Last season, we're like,
oh, yeah. Well, and to Philly's point, Ari Lassiter dribbles through 3 or 4 guys there right at the end of stoppage time. I think it was in the 6th, 7th minute. And if that goes in and it's just 1-0, I mean, we're having a whole different show right now.
Well, quickly, Mahala scores, Izzy scores. That's now 2 guys that you wouldn't have considered in your front 3. Does Steve have some real options? I would say options is a nice way to put it, but real decisions to make it that ideal.
But what a great situation. He brings him in for Vela. So Vela gets to, again, not go the full 90, which probably at the end of the season
was probably
fares
what he
well
thought
for
was
him.
best case scenario. I'll give Vela a rest. Not that he's going to come in and score
I
a
just
goal.
say, all right. And then Izzy comes in and scores 10 minutes later. That's a coaching move right there.
I don't think there's any controversy for who we're starting with our front 3 as long as they're healthy, but it's nice to know that we can get the production that we have so far from those guys in the 8th.
How about an Izzy Mahala on the outside, just for one game, maybe?
Maybe in an open cup.
Yeah, okay.
No, I think we'll see it. As we've seen, depth is already going to be tested.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the class of 22 is a gift that keeps on giving. I mean, where else can you find professional athletes discussing hard-hitting questions like how many 8-year-olds could you fight at one time?
Oh, boy.
Strangest question.
Well, this week we asked another compelling question. If soccer players had walkout songs like boxers, what would yours be? This is what the players had to say.
You know that song that goes, it's like chicharrón.
It's time. It's not a song, but it's just Bruce Buffer is just screaming out loud.
Bandolero. Afrobeat song. Kodak Black.
I feel like it would be like a reggaeton song. Okay. Yeah, Bad Bunny song.
It'd be like some hip hop, like old school rap. Okay. It's not my favorite type of music, but like for a walkout, I would need something like that.
De Bad Bunny, Soy el Peor.
Banana. That's Rocky. Yeah. That's Rocky song. Yeah, that one.
That was the right answer from Pancho.
Pancho,
that's the right answer.
Down? I mean, what do you guys got? What would be your walkout song?
TNT by AC/DC for sure would be mine.
We're talking about walking out to like the octagon or the squared circle, right? We're talking fighting.
No, you're a soccer player and you get to have a walkout song. I don't think it changes much.
Hail to the King, avenged sevenfold.
Meg's like, that's a whole lot of words that I'm not sure about.
I saw the UFC one, and Misha Tate came out to Katy Perry, and it's like this, and the opponent's like, so I think maybe you mess with your opponent, so you come out with like Air Supply or Little River Band, and then you really bring it down to the opponent. You just take all of them out. And
All
then
out of love?
Smack them.
Or like Sylvester Stallone in the Rocky movie, he came out to Sinatra.
Yeah, it's like, what? You mess with your opponent's mind a little bit.
I'm going to stick with my guy, the Scarf Fair. I'll do If You Want Blood.
I like it.
DC.
If you
No
want.
Rolling
Can we sing on here? You got it. That's a great jam.
But that's the vibe you want to create. It's all about creating vibes
Definitely.
with your walkout song. Poncho
Well,
getting the final countdown, though. I love that.
Europe.
That makes me so happy.
That's not true.
Oh, I like Soccer
I was waiting for you.
I like Soccer USA. So you'd come out for Do It for LA by Be Real and everybody else right now.
Oh, there
I
you
like
go.
that.
That's
I like
the new
it.
one.
There you go.
Okay. From time to time, we like to do player ratings around here. Connor made his picks last time around, but he's not here, so we can't ridicule him. So let me introduce you to Max Bretos. Max, you are going to do our player ratings.
Not really looking forward
from
to
the
this.
win over Inter Miami. Yeah, I mean, we won't ridicule you too much, at least not from the start. Let's see what you got here, Max. Where are you starting?
All right, Crepeau. Solid, didn't have to do a whole lot again, which is great. So I give him a 7.
Okay, I think that's fair. I think Connor gave him like a 10 the one time he did it, and I was like, he didn't do anything.
He's been fantastic. Again, he did the LAFC chant with the traveling supporters.
Doing
Every
it on the
foot.
road is kind of in an opposing team stadium, a little ballsy.
I like it.
I like it. I'm just saying. Okay.
But we had so many people, it was only appropriate.
Moon filling in a big spot, did well. Got caught a couple times going up. Small, 6.5.
Okay.
Not 65. All right, let
It
me.
looks like 65.
There we go.
6.5.
AARP.
Daniil Henry again coming into a spot. Feel like the right guy, and also sending a message that LAFC has a guy like this on their roster that you don't want to mess with. So I'm also going to go 7.
I like that.
7. Okay.
I like that.
And if you're in the chat, give us some of your ratings. We want to see how you.
Yeah, let me know
Max.
if I'm doing all right.
Yeah, 7. Okay.
Yeah, people check out for Expansion Mansion. You're absolutely right to check in a little bit later. Mamadou Fall, again, strength to strength, doing very well. Just solid defensively, so we'll go 7.5.
Ooh. 10-5. Yeah. A little more involved.
A little more involved, yeah.
But also, one big thing from him, we didn't really have to worry about him being caught on the ball or anything like that.
Right.
He was clean.
Yeah, he seems to be playing back a little bit more, playing a little more. Like you mentioned, Steve's probably in his ear about that a little bit. Like, look, you'll have your moments, but pick and choose a little bit more.
But that's a guy you're developing. He's a blank slate. Now we're filling it, and he's becoming a top-tier central defender here. And the one, like you said, the one that's played everyone here. Ryan Hollingshead was pretty clean, too. I'm going to go 6.75.
Wow.
All right.
Wait, Max, 7. 7's a very high mark.
Is there any more increments that you go in, or are we only in 0.5s?
No, I just wanted to
Okay,
be-
I'm just saying. Okay, I'm just saying.
I thought he stayed at home, and he did the job he was asked and was very clear.
It is Pi Day. 3.1.
It is Pi Day.
As the math teacher knows.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Jose Cifuentes, I'm bearing with him. He is going to get there. He's laboring a little bit, so we'll go 6.25.
Oh, it was his birthday. You could at least give him the extra 25 basis points just for that.
All right.
I actually think that might be a little generous. for
I know he's not going to be
Yeah.
very popular, but that's.
I felt more of a 6, but
yeah,
we're splitting hairs.
Look, we got
to show that it was his
Seafood, 6.7. We got the. We can do these crazy numbers, right?
Sure.
You're in charge.
Hey, it's your player ratings. You're
All
in
right,
charge.
Ilya Sanchez, let's go 7.1.
Player
7.1.
Team of the week. Team of the week, Elie Sanchez.
Okay, let's fix that. 7.4.
I was going to say 7.5, but right when you went 4.
4,
I was like, okay, cool.
7.4.
Perfect.
All right, what do you got for
Kellen Acosta, let's go 7.2. Just like I think we're going to see a much better Kellen Acosta here coming forward. There's some spots where he wants to get forward. Hasn't been involved at the set pieces as much with Carlos Vela, but that's going to be a positive.
I'm going to be.
He's a very instrumental part of this team.
I'm going to be curious to talk to the guys. Not that it's a good excuse, but I'm going to ask them just how much it affected you, because the passing was tough.
Rough.
Yeah.
For sure.
Vela, let's go 7.5. It's Carlos. Got the assist. He is the straw that stirs the drink. Again, not his best thing coming off. The fact that he played is bonus too, and I'm putting that into the score here as well.
Yeah.
I see these half nods.
No,
Well,
it's.
you stole Philly's. He does the straw that stirs the drink. That's
Oh, I did?
Isn't it me?
It's
that-
actually the
I was going to
scarf
say,
and the
isn't it me?
You guys
Yeah,
are
that's
thinking about your
that's-
Mai Tais
That's
too
an
much.
old Daryl Strawberry line.
We steal lines from each other.
That's true.
All right.
However,
Mahala the goal, game breaking pace. Let's go 8.5.
Look at that.
fair.
I like
Fair?
it.
Fair. Yep.
Now, I know this may not really stick with everyone because I saw some people frustrated with Brian Rodriguez, and he has turned the ball over, and he has lost the ball in the dribbles. But he continues to make massive plays every game. So I am putting him with Mahala at 8.5.
Okay.
He drew the red card.
Yeah, you talked a lot about how he was probably the best player on the field on the day.
He was the best player. He was the most active player. He's always close to the ball. So when you pick your head up and you see what things happening, Brian is there. The work rate is at a top notch. He has to know when to go, when to pass a little bit more. But he picked up the red card, which you could argue was the biggest play in this game. He assisted on the Mamadou fall, which was the biggest play in the last game. So Brian Rodriguez is in the mix for our most valuable player right now. I think that there's an argument to be had. The only thing that you would hold on that is because of the hat trick by Carlos Vela. But Brian, to me, has been fantastic.
Well, everyone just wants to see him score, which is fine.
Right.
I get that, and that's how his value is going to go. But what I really loved, and Jessica Black pointed this out in our watch along, was man, he's making runs in behind.
Yeah,
right? You have Mahala, and
he's doing all the right things.
Yeah, that's the reason why she really liked Mahala, because she's like, who's going to run in behind? Because Brian wants to come to feet, Carlos wants to come to feet. Brian makes that run in behind, and like you said, biggest play of the game. Breck Shea has to make that, or else we are talking about Brian scoring a goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's all those little things that don't appear on the score sheet, that don't appear if you're looking up Football Reference or the back of the Topps card, whatever it might be. Those are the things that Brian Rodriguez has been doing so much better since he came back from his stint over in La Liga too.
Yeah, he's had the most shot attempts out of anybody on LAFC's roster, 10 with 4 on target.
That's a lot.
So you can't say that he's been not doing his thing. He's certainly trying. I mean, the last game he had 3 shots on target. Yep. So Brian's doing his thing.
He's going to score too.
Yeah,
he's going to score.
He's knocking on that door.
A guy that creates shots is always better than a guy that scores with limited shots. Yeah. It really is, honestly.
How do I do the subs here? Here we go. McCarthy, Murillo, Blessing.
I mean, we didn't use everybody, so.
Pancho came in for a short time. I'll go 6.8. He came in. Chicho laboring a bit. Still going to get there, 6 points.
Almost had a goal. I think if the weather wasn't a factor, he could have had that.
I'm going to knock him down.
7.1.
No, because it should have been 3-0. He really should have laid that ball off.
All right, 6.7.
Yeah.
Tajouri-Shradi, 9.
9? Okay.
You come in and you score in 10 minutes.
I like it.
I mean, what do you want to give me? That's close to. Yeah, back off, La Rosa.
He's coming right at you, Vince. Look out.
Wait, who else came in? Latif came in.
Latif came in.
Yeah,
Latif
always
righted the ship. I think Kasifi.
7.4. That's. Look, the substitutions were fantastic.
Yeah.
The impact that they had collectively is more than you could expect.
You don't have to put it on there, but what do you give Steve? I mean, because you just said
8.8.
Yeah, substitutions were on point. I mean,
starting 11 was on point.
Starting 11 was on point.
I mean, his commentary at the end was on point. I mean, he was happy with the clean sheet, but saying the right things. There's a lot that this team still needs to work and improve upon, and I agree wholeheartly.
All right.
Daniel Angel saying B-Rod has taken up the mantle of team influencer. So, like, when I said that about Brian, I was expecting people to go, wait a minute. It's by and large an agreement. Someone said B-Rod 7.5, which is a good mark.
Yeah.
Right?
I think
you want to be in the 7s.
Yeah.
6s you can live with. 5s are bad. No, he was not near that.
I think the more people watch shows like this, they start to learn a lot more about the game and they get a lot smarter.
The one thing I want to highlight real quick, my wife over there saying B-Rod with the heart face. If you remember during our watch party when somebody labeled us all the characters and somebody labeled me as B-Rod, I'm like, yes, my wife's going to really like this.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. LAFC is in its 5th season, and with that means there are a number of former players, alumni if you will, who are currently plying their trade somewhere else. We thought it'd be nice, and we got this idea, we'll say it, from the defenders of the bank. We thought it would be nice to see what some of them are up to.
Get all our good ideas from you.
Oh, jeez.
After all, they're a part of our history, as the graphic says. Let's see who this subject of our first installment of LAFC alumni check-ins is. And here comes.
Hey, there's Vince La Rosa.
Easy.
Does that pad a little bit, Vip? It's Diego Rossi. Here it comes.
Oh, Diego Rossi. Diego Rossi, he scored the first goal against the Sounders. He scored the last goal.
Diego Rossi, our first number 9. He started against Alanya yesterday and opened up the scoring with this beauty. How? This is what I want to ask. Like, when you see that, how?
Low flick, that soft touch there.
No. I get, but still, like, how? It makes no sense. Like, how do you finish that?
Maybe there was wind like we saw in Miami. I don't know.
But something about Diego Rossi. He came to LA and he experienced LA. If you follow his social media, he was out and about. He's in Istanbul. He's doing the same thing. There's always these photos of him out on the boat with family. I don't know where it is in the Bosphorus, but he really embraces the travel. So Diego Rossi, cultured man.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, he's actually really helped Fenerbahce in the last 5 matches, a goal and 2 assists where they've righted the ship. They were kind of sputtering a little bit, but 4 wins and a draw from their last 5 have put them back in Champions League contention. So Diego Rossi has really started to help drive that bus a little bit on the offensive end. He did go 20 games in between goals, though, until this one. So, but I'm happy to say, look, we wish all the best for Rossi, and hopefully Fenerbahce makes it back to the Champions League.
Look, he started this game, he scored a goal.
Yep.
I think he's going to start the next game, and hopefully he can get on.
Speaking for alumni check-in, what about us on our Instagram Live and Marco Ureña?
Yeah, it's not a check-in, us checking on them. Marco Ureña checked in on Max
that's
tonight,
amazing.
which was really great and had some nice words,
He's such a nice guy.
The Hyundai A-League, Central Coast Mariners.
Hyundai.
Yeah, but don't we have LAFC Australia here who's a Melbourne?
Australians pronounce it Hyundai.
Okay.
We should take a poll on how
Max Bretos should know. He lived in Australia for a little bit.
That's right. Get around in a Hyundai? What do you say, Koba? That's terrible. Hey, I see you. And you know what else I see? Another segment. They don't give me the good copy. I think Connor took it with him to South by Southwest. Let's get into another edition of I See You, and we'll start with you, Philly.
So the one thing that we were all low-key jealous about was the fact that there were so many LAFC supporters that traveled down to Miami and then hopped in a car 34 miles up to Fort Lauderdale. I was very low-key jealous about that. But there was still a lot of us within this town that stuck around. And the cool thing about LAFC and all the supporters groups and the bar partners that we have is there is a plethora of places where you can go and watch LAFC matches. If you're all the supporters have their bars. LAFC has their bar partners, their Party Beer Co., Hangar 24. Places along Caveman Kitchen, you could have hung out with TSG and LAO. You could have gone to the House of Football with the Expos. You could have gone to Barney's Beanery if you live in Burbank like myself. So there's so many places that you can go hang out at and be shoulder to shoulder with those that support
the Beanery.
The Barney's Beanery, it's a good spot. We can walk there from
West Hollywood.
Yeah.
You can smell the spilt booze from 1982
you smell
in
Janis
there.
Joplin and Jim Morrison all over that.
I love it. I say that with the highest praise.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, look, mine is simple. Look, we were all gamers at one point in our lives. We talk about it all the time during the pre-show.
You still are.
Absolutely. Jeff and Alex over at LAFC, the graphics department over there, are doing an unreal job this season. This one based on Halo 2. That's the big one there.
That's a good one.
Grand Theft Auto. I mean, the job that you guys are doing, Jeff and Alex, Castlevania for the first match. I can't wait to see. We have 31 matches to go, and I am scouring, looking for all the fun, different video game art and seeing what they'll come up with next. This has been such a great ride, and we're only 3 matches in. Jeff and Alex, I see you.
Jeez, my goodness.
I love how you capped that, really just.
We're putting them way over right there.
I know.
PTSD seeing that Vice City cover. I spent many a time my freshman year missing class to play that video game. So great cover, but obviously I'm struggling. Vice City. Moving right along.
Lots of killing.
My ICU is a bit of a feel-good one with everything that's going on in the world, especially in Liga MX and Querétaro. Did I get it?
Yeah,
Querétaro. Those scenes were obviously terrifying, and it was tough to watch. But the 3252, we know they always travel, and they traveled and they met up with Vice City out there in Miami, and Vice City hosted them just like we did when they came the first match of the season in 2021. When you see supporters groups able to put that aside and just embrace the love of the game and the love for what you do, and the love for the work that they put in. I mean, the travel's not easy. Making the tifos aren't easy. All this stuff, I mean, people don't quite understand what goes into all that stuff. So the fact that they were able to embrace and celebrate on that before the game, during the game, obviously, we're competitors. And then I believe after the game, they also had a chance to celebrate with them. We need more of that all around the country. This is something to learn from. Actually, we need more of that all around the world. Yeah. This moment is something that I think the entire soccer world can learn from, and I look forward to seeing the 3252 travel more and meet up with more supporters groups. This is an example for MLS. Let's be an example for the world.
I wanted the supporters to know I was going to mention them, but these guys covered it so eloquently. And the good thing about that is that when other supporters see that, and you saw it with Inter Miami, they were inspired by LAFC's 3252 that they welcomed them in. So all this just is snowballs. So even more than the games on the field, the supporter culture is what's drawing people in, and we are eternally grateful. Also want to say, well done, Seth, for that They Might Be Giants reference on the comments. I got you. It's a good jam. My I see you is positive feedback. You know, there was time it was hard to get on Twitter at the end of last season because the vitriol was pretty hard, you know, and we got into conversations. I know Vince went to the deep end of the pool a few times. I had to drag him out of there and say, oh, okay. I'm sorry. I jumped the gun. So tell me that again, Jason.
You're supposed to do the
Okay, I jumped the gun. I was talking about the supporters. I was. 110 football watch party.
Segue!
I put my foot in it. It was amazing. These guys did an incredible job. I just want to applaud the folks at 110 Football. They created, look at that. I mean, don't you want to be there with those seats? And the Bloody Mary with
I'm really hoping that soon we will be able to have you guys in the chat and anyone that's around here come join us. I'll tell you what.
Me adjusting my camera repeatedly.
I have newfound appreciation for what you do, Max, because talking for 2 hours during a match, not easy.
You did a great job of it. But people tuned in because once you go into these watch parties, you realize you're at home and you want to talk about these games. And to have an outlet like that is therapeutic. It allows you to get your takes off and get involved, and it's a good feeling. So we encourage everyone to join the next one, which will be Orlando, right?
Yes.
In a couple weeks. It's a lot of fun, and you're always welcome, and you can recreate it. This is how we party in 2022 via these streams. So well done to everyone. I was thrilled to be part of it. I didn't know at the beginning how much fun I would have. I didn't want to sign out. So really good stuff. And sorry about jumping the gun.
We'll get there. Sooner or later, we'll get there. You guys see the prompt, by the way. Start sending in your questions because it's that time of the show for questions. Obviously, after that, we'll do stoppage time. So let's get to some viewer questions. I believe there was, I remember up top, there was a question about seafood.
Send them in.
And until we get to there, I want to just kind of go on that. Actually, let's go to GTG Law. Max, why were there so few Miami fans at that game?
Let me tell you a story about Miami sports, which they're very consistent about.
There we go.
They don't really turn out to. But no, Inter Miami has drawn it. I would say coming out in the middle at 1:30. That's the witching hour in Miami. That's when people are at the beach or at the boats.
I thought I was going to say still asleep.
Or getting
possibly,
home.
Possibly.
Yeah, coming home.
Getting home from the bar.
But I mean, they probably caught an ear of the weather and ducked out a bit. I don't want to poo-poo on the Miami sports fandom because it's not as bad as people pointed out. But and this is in Fort Lauderdale, they support that club very well. It's just I think it was a combination of everything. But it was pretty startling to look at just all these empty seats. It's not always like that for that team. This was a unique circumstance, unfortunately. Weather, wind, rain, and a defeat.
And you may hear more about that
time.
in our stoppage time segment.
Good, yes.
Yes.
Little tease,
now that's a tease and a segue and great. But,
well done.
Daniel asked about what our presence is going to be for the Vancouver game. It's going to be the same but different. So we'll still be at free play before the game. So please come visit us before and after the game. You can come hang out with us. We'll put you on camera. We'll put you on the mic, all that great stuff. But we're going to go a little bit earlier. Why? Because this man is going to be on the call for the first time.
Yes.
The voice of LAFC will be calling the game. So we will be the pre-show before the pre-show. So an hour before kickoff.
How well we serve our fans, huh?
Yeah.
We give them options.
Hey, this is what's going to grow the sport in America, is giving the sport its due the way it is around the world and giving the sport its due the way we do just the sports we do here. NFL gets like 3 hours of pregame coverage. We're just going to go an hour before.
Well, another bit of presence that we got to highlight. If you see the man sitting right here next Sunday, March the 20th, J.R. Liebert, lovingly known as
the Scarf.
It's his birthday. So if you see this man, throw a kind, cool, calm, collective.
I swear it was your birthday 2 weeks ago.
No. It's March 20th.
Okay.
Yep.
Birthday scarf.
Some good questions rolling in here about the Vancouver game. Do you want to touch on those?
Well, let's take. There's two good ones, and I think that can kind of round us.
And I like the game starting at midnight. Why not?
Why not?
Why
I mean, it's
not?
Miami.
MLS after dark.
It'd be super unique. They're asking about Latif Blessing.
Yeah.
It's been interesting seeing him come off the bench. I'll just give my thoughts up front. I think Latif Blessing is better as a super sub.
It's great in this role.
Yeah.
He's great in this role. Whether he should be happy about it is a different story.
Right.
Well, but that kind of pace and that impact.
You get some spot starts, but the ability to come into a game where you've got a player that has close control, that really wears guys out, And on top of that, really good at recoveries, just getting the ball back for you in general. I mean, when you can, especially in this Miami game, when we were sitting there, we were saying, ooh, it's getting a little stretched. We were worried that something crazy might happen. Jessica was saying, something needs to change here. Sifu a little gassed. You're able to bring in Latif Blessing, who rights the ship. And look, his passing isn't as progressive as Sifu's is, but in that moment, you just needed a guy to say, calm.
He keeps possession for you. And the other thing I think that you and I have talked about before, Vince, what you get from Latif as a starter is the same thing as you get from him off the bench. He'll give you that same effort, that same energy, and it even more so, by the way, after the 70th minute, when you have defenders that are gassed, now he gives you that extra bit of element. I think that he's being paid like a starter, let's be honest.
Well, and he would start for the majority of MLS clubs, in my opinion, especially ones who have four-man midfields. But he'll put a little pressure now on Acosta and Sifu to keep the standard up because you have a guy who is starter-worthy on the bench. But I love the impacts.
I mean, his nickname, after all, is the game changer. A game changer has to come into the game to change it. And I agree wholeheartedly with Andres Franco. Him coming off the bench adds that extra spark, that extra bit of energy should we be in a position where we're lagging it. Certainly makes that difference.
Can we answer this La Tabla?
I like that.
Who should we expect to pop off in a positive way, I imagine, versus the Whitecaps? So no red card.
Well, you know Maxime Crepeau is going to be fired up for that match.
So will Tristan Blackman.
So will Tristan Blackman, which makes me think that Carlos Vela will be fired up for that match because he likes to score against Vancouver.
I think we're getting a brace from Chicho.
I like that. That's the call. I think Chicho finds the back of the net. And by the way, as I always do, I watch the opponent's game from there. Vancouver lost to Houston, but they were fun to watch, which is not, you can't always say about that. Cavallini scored a goal. This is not going to be an easy game, even though they're near the bottom or at the bottom of the West. This is a team, and they got us at the end of last season, too. It's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, they've been struggling a bit, but I remember you and I, Max, we looked at the opening part of the schedule and we said to ourselves, wow, 4 games, 3 out of the 4 are playoff teams. The one, Inter Mami, that's not a playoff team, you still got to travel all the way across country, and LAFC's acquitted themselves very well. If they can get the result against Vancouver, that's a really good start to what we thought was going to be a kind of tough start to the season.
Sure.
I want to go to one that has disappeared since then. I believe it was from Soccer USA. He's asking about the academy. We brought that up. I know that Nathan Ordaz was called in by the Mexican youth national team.
Wait, not the El Salvadorian, now the Mexican.
No, now the Mexican youth national team. He can represent El Salvador, Mexico, or the United States.
Not a bad problem.
So that's a player to keep an eye on. I know that Tony Leone and Christian Torres started for Vegas in a losing effort, sadly. But there's a lot of guys coming through there. Anyone that you really have your eye on?
Well, first of all, I did mention on the LAFC fans Facebook page about Nathan Ordaz. I said he was going to be one to watch. I think that kid's going to be super fun. But I have been wanting to see Eric Dueña since we saw him in just that little cup of coffee. He got thrown around and fouled pretty good. But the heart that kid showed and a little bit of speed, a little bit of wiggle in Eric Dueñas, I really want to see more of that kid. I just hope he can stay healthy. That was a huge issue last year. Eric Dueñas
still looks like he's 14. I think
not true. You and I saw him in the meal room at the Performance Center. We were like, what are you doing?
He's running too.
You on that Tony Leone meal plan?
Leone looks like
he's looking like he's putting on a little bit.
To me, Leone's the answer, but where do you get some minutes for him? But he's ready. I think he's ready. He just has to get through all these seasoned top-tier defenders.
We talked to a couple of people at LAFC, and they still think that his ceiling is the highest at center back, but he's not bad at right back, which is very, very interesting for Tony Leone if that's a way for him to get on the field.
Kim Moon-hwan maybe moving on.
Yeah,
maybe
very
Leone
convenient.
Slots in a little bit. I don't know.
Just saying. Well, thank you guys. Thank you everyone in the chat for your questions. Those were great questions. We love the questions. The questions are my favorite part. If we could do a whole show of just questions,
be great.
I totally would. But let's move on to stoppage time as we're wrapping up. Max, do you know what your topic is? Or should I go to someone else?
I teased it very well a few minutes ago.
You teased it, i.e.
So let me
gave it away
extrapolate.
completely.
Let me extrapolate.
You're not much of a tease there, friend.
No, I know. It was pretty bad. Show a little leg. It is the positive feedback from everyone. Forgive me if you've heard this before. And we saw it was getting the vitriol was getting pretty thick and the water was rising last season. People were upset. The team wasn't performing, and that's right. And I had to dig, Vince out of a couple Donnybrooks from time to time. Get out of there, La Rosa, because he couldn't. So it's good to see the positive feedback. More than positive, I think it's really smart. I think you, the supporters, are getting more knowledgeable, smarter, sophisticated in how you consume these sports. Now, there's going to be times where things aren't going that well. It's going well now, but I'm confident that you've seen the full cycle, that you will be able to give the criteria as best as you can. So I'm glad to see it because it's a weight off everyone's shoulders. Form of the team goes a long way. But we encourage everyone out there to feedback. You're part of this. You have a voice. And social media certainly allows that. And we pay attention. So I like the fact that we're having good conversations. And even the conversation in here has been very civil and smart. So I like it.
Any chance you can fix USMNT Twitter now? Or is that just a lost cause?
Well, listen, this is what I would say about USMNT Twitter is we're trying to qualify for the World Cup, so let's not argue whether Joe Scally or Conrad De La Fuente or do not bring up Matthew Hoppy's name. It doesn't matter. None of them are going to play. Let's focus on this. Let's focus on making the World Cup, okay? Can we agree on that?
Yes. All right, Philly, you're up.
So life has been rather positive over the course of the last couple of games. And so the one thing that I like seeing is LAFC do well. And I came to the season being very cautiously optimistic. It was cautious, but then cautiously optimistic. I'm going to bring up a fairy tale. Have you guys ever heard the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears?
Many times.
All right. Not written by Hans Alexander Christensen or
Wait,
Dumas.
what?
All right, I might have messed up the name. The point of the story.
Hans Christian Andersen. Now, I thought you were a Solvang guy. He's Hans Christian Andersen.
But the point
You're
is,
the Solvang guy. He was just visiting.
He didn't write. We're all the Solvang gang at the end of the day.
Great beer.
Which makes us all the Solvang gang. Okay, let him finish.
So the Goldilocks and the Three Bears tale about the porridge not being too hot, the porridge not being too cold. Yes, I did say the porridge, Governor.
Have you had porridge?
No, not lately. Not lately. Anyway, so is LAFC the real deal, is my point. I don't think they're too hot. I don't think they're too cold. I think they are just right for the time being. We clearly have so much time left in the season. 3 games is not a really good depiction as to anything going on when we're the third of the way through the season, when we might have a U.S. Open Cup game under our belt. Then we could really give a good depiction as to whether this team is hot or whether this team is cold or whether the Trundle experiment is working out quite well. But that's just me being borderline right now, cautiously optimistic. Goldilocks and the Three Bears, baby. Not too hot, not too cold. Okay and tempered for the time being.
You said porridge.
Porridge, Governor. Can I get a little more porridge?
Porridge.
Who wrote
Oliver Twist
on
impression.
your where'd you get that special cue card?
Well, it was hard. My inner Wayne's World reference. I had to. I might be dating myself.
It's a little
here.
more dicey on Wayne's World.
It was a little more dicey. I'm going to piggyback off yours just a little bit. Mine is there's still a lot of work to do by LAFC. That match in Miami was rough, and I think Steve Cherundolo took the perfect tone. It was like, I love 3 points on the road. That's about it. Really, we haven't seen the passing yet. We haven't seen the attacking football. We haven't even really seen much of the counter press that we're used to seeing from LAFC. So I think there's still a lot of components that need to go into place before we start to say this is a really, really good team. The way Philly said, not to get too high, not to get too low. But I will at least give them this. They're ticking some boxes that we were really worried about last year. Depth, box ticked. Resiliency, I would say, against Portland and now against Miami, that box is ticked. And then, subs. I thought that last year we kind of worried about the changes that were made, and a lot of those were down to injuries. That's happening. But man, still a ways to go. I want to see, and I think we all do, regardless of, no, not regardless, we still want the points. But we want to see that free-flowing, beautiful LAFC football. I think we're going to see it, but the jury is still out because as of right now, it's maybe just all about the pragmatism.
Anthony Bermudez loved your take. Black and gold hearts.
Yeah, look, I think my stoppage time take is what we saw on screen, on Twitter, on TUDN. The 32-52 in Miami were incredible. We saw the difference in the crowd. When the rain started, the 32-52 actually ratcheted it up a notch. They represent not just LAFC, but our city and the game in Major League Soccer so well week in and week out. But I think it was so incredibly apparent in Miami when the stands were half full, when the supporter section got quieter as it rained. Look, we kind of jokingly talked about my birthday, March 20th. But that's also the day that unfortunately Mauricio Facio passed away, and it's a day that I think about every single time my birthday comes up now. That's part of the legacy that he left us to then be the stewards of and carry on moving forward. The 32-52, they're away support, but they're also the way that they bring soccer culture with them around not just the United States, but when we travel outside of this country as well. I loved seeing our 32-52 represent themselves so well. And again, that's a small piece of Mo that travels with us wherever we go.
Internationally known. They did it in Mexico. They'll do it anywhere. If they go to Argentina, Europe, 32-52 will be recognized. They're that good.
Say what you want about the performance on the field. One thing that is unrivaled, undefeated in the stands all the time.
Well said.
Consistent.
Yeah, well said. I think we touched on, so many aspects of supporter culture just in this one match.
Yeah.
And by the way, it was all the way across the country. Like, that's crazy.
Yep.
But
For
thank
3
you guys.
days. 3 days.
3 days.
Make an impact.
Yeah, 3 days.
Just going and going.
Thank all of you, Max, Philly, Scarf. You guys are great. It's always great to have you. Thank you again to the chat. Again, I love the chat. I would do questions the whole show if we could. And maybe we'll get there. Maybe one day it'll just be all questions.
They came when you asked for them. They came.
They did. So thank you, chat. Hey guys, don't forget, this and every 110 Football show is available as a podcast as well as a show on YouTube. So if you're on the go and still want to hear Max give his player ratings, then just search 110 Football in your podcast app of choice.
I was. Anyway, come back here to the 110 Football YouTube channel at 4 p.m. today, 4 p.m. Pacific for our friends elsewhere. The Expansion Mansion. Vince and I will be joined by a very special guest making his 2022 debut. Former MLS and Liga MX defender, Mariano Trujillo. Also a very good follow on Instagram.
That's right, Max. Can't wait to dive into this weekend's storylines with Mariano. Next Sunday, LAFC are back to the bank, and so are we. Catch me with Jessica Black, Scarf, and the return of Connor Kalopsis. That's weird. Before
Big sell.
Before and after the match with Vancouver right here on the 110 Football YouTube channel. And that's it. That's it. We're done.
Great show.
We're done here. We're going to be back in a couple hours, but we're done. Anything else? You got any last words?
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Great performance by Steve Cherundolo. He's done his homework on this team.
Max, rate our performance from this show.
You got the iPad.
8.4. 8.4.
All right, I'll take it. Thank you, everyone.
Monday, y'all.
Goodbye.
Hi, I'm Maxime Crépeau. Subscribe to 110 Football.